You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast with your dating coach, Trip, from tripadvice.com. Do you struggle with getting girls to like you? Well, you're going to learn step-by-step how to talk to girls to create deep connections and meet the woman of your dreams. Here's your host, me, Trip. Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This is your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. And you might be hearing in the back of me some screaming, maybe some kids, maybe some motorcycles. That's because I'm in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam right now, doing some traveling while I'm working. Oh, there we go. There's a kid screaming in the background. So I apologize if you're hearing any of that, but it shouldn't be hopefully too loud in the foreground and just in the background here. But either way, I got a great episode for you today, something really cool that I was finding. If you don't know yet, because I know that I do a lot of things that are kind of timely, and these podcasts are evergreen, which means they last forever. I'm going to be launching here soon one of my really top-selling programs called Hooked Online, which is all about how to get girls hooked from online dating and through app dating. And that is going to be launched out to anyone who's on my email list and anyone who's watching my YouTube videos. And I'm really excited about that. And while I was creating the program, I did some research and I found something really interesting. I'll tell you the story basically. I was basically on the computer and I was thinking about how guys really write boring profiles. I see it all the time and girls tell me all the time, like, oh, wow, I was reading this profile. It's so lame. You know what I mean? It's like, and by the way, girls are reading your profile, 100%. They're reading your profile and they are dissecting it. It's not just about pictures for them, which it might be, I know, for you. But for them, they're reading the profile, they're diving in. And so, what you guys end up using a lot of what I call white noise language. By the way, I'm guilty of this too. I'm not sitting here trying to come down on you. I know that it's not easy to sit here and write a really unique thing about yourself. One of the hardest things you could really do is write about yourself, by the way. So you already a step behind trying to do online dating. They make it hard for you because you got to write about yourself and it's not easy to do that. Plus, you got to do it in a cool way, in an interesting way. So you end up using what I call white noise language. That's language that goes in one ear and out the other, boring language. And so I was looking up and seeing, well, what are some, because I'm not like a huge writer myself. I'm not like this amazing writer. If anything, I'm more of a filmmaker. But I really have kind of got this idea of like there's got to be a way to write profiles so it's more captivating and engaging to women. So I decided to do some research. So I went in and I dug in and I tried to find what are the best power words to use in your profile, having no idea that anything would come up. It's just I was let me see if there's any power words that you could use in a dating profile. And who would have thought about a year ago there was it looked like there was two different websites, eHarmony and maybe Zoosk. But it looks like on this article I'm looking at right now, it was eHarmony that did this really cool research. They analyzed data from over 12,000 members, and they figured out what words got the most approaches, or I should say here, and I quote, got more interest from women who want to get to know them better. And so they actually have a list of the words that were the worst and the words that were the best. And I'm like, I got to talk about this. So I talk about this in some of my YouTube videos, but I wanted to do a deep dive. I want to do a deep dive into this and go into the words that they say are the best. And of course, I'm also going to share with you the words that didn't work well for your online dating profile. And what I'm thinking about doing is, maybe I've already done this, if you're listening to this maybe a year later, but I'm thinking about doing a whole series of videos on these words. Like every video is going to be a new word. I'm going to deep dive into that and talk about why that word is so meaningful in terms of attracting a woman and getting her to respond more. And then you can use that information to be more attractive. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it and let's see what we can do here. So here are the words that I found, or that they found, I should say, and I'm just kind of talking to you about it, that they found that are the worst in terms of engagement. And they actually have percentages here because this was a whole analytical study. And so they have like a negative percentage here, negative percentage meaning the decrease in attention or the increase in terms of the words that do work, but the increase or decrease in attention that members had when they used each word, okay? So let's start with the top one. This is so interesting here. The top one, which is the worst, was quiet at negative 51%. Quiet. That's right. So if a guy writes the word quiet on his profile, I'm guessing in terms of not like, you know, he likes it when things are quiet, but if he lives a quiet lifestyle or if he's kind of a quiet guy, well, of course that makes sense that a girl's not going to like that because if a guy is saying quiet, that maybe means he's shy. And girls don't want to be with the guy who is shy. Okay. Because what does that mean? Well, that's not a very masculine quality. Again, I don't think you have to be super outgoing, crazy, gregarious, in your face guy, but a girl does not want to be with a guy who's super shy because then he's not going to be able to be dominant and take charge. And you know what? If you are quiet and it's something you're working on, don't worry. Just don't use that in your profile. Okay. So again, I'm not saying these things like you need to work on these things right now and you're screwed if you don't work on these things and these adjectives we'll be talking about here. No, but just for now, don't put them in your profile, but understand why these might not work not just in your profile, but in real life as well. So it kind of all works together. All right, the next one is energetic. Now, this kind of blew my mind a little bit. This is negative 37%. Energetic. I don't know. To be honest with you, I would think that a girl would like that, but I guess there's something about that doesn't work for her. The jury's out on that one. Really, it kind of blew my mind that energetic was something that a girl wouldn't like, but negative 37%. The next one is negative 35%. You're going to love this. This is hilarious to me. Respectful. That's right. Respectful. When a guy writes that on the profile, I wonder why. I wonder why a girl doesn't like that. Because here's the thing. You do need to be respectful, and a girl does like when a guy is respectful. But maybe when he writes it on this profile, I don't know. Maybe it seems a little bit lame. Maybe it's just not very interesting. Maybe it's try hard. Maybe when a guy writes that, it just doesn't seem to work as well. Again, because it seems maybe a little bit too try hard. Like a guy is trying to be hard, trying too hard by saying, respectful. Modest is the next one, negative 30%. Modest. So I would say maybe that is something to do with maybe being kind of shy or reserved, but modest is kind of the opposite of energetic, but yet a girl doesn't like it and doesn't get a lot of responses for guys if you're putting modest or energetic. A kind, negative 27%. Sweet and negative 26%. Good listener at negative 22%. I'll tell you why I know those don't work, by the way. I think good listener doesn't work because I think that a girl reading that, it just sounds like BS. Again, with those other ones. Like it just sounds like, okay, you're just saying that because that's what girls want to hear. Sweet and kind. It's like, here's the thing. A girl wants a sweet and kind man, but when a man refers to himself as sweet and kind, this is just my opinion, by the way. Obviously, I have no factual information on this, but this is my opinion as a dating coach, right? A guy writing sweet and kind is a kind of feminine. It's like a feminine way to describe yourself. Not saying you shouldn't be sweet or kind, but a guy saying that, it's not very masculine, right? And no, you shouldn't be an asshole. No, that doesn't mean you have to be a jerk to a girl. Oh, she likes jerks. I wouldn't say that's the conclusion you come to. No, you still be a good guy, but just describing yourself in that way is just kind of lame, to be honest. Loyal, negative 22%. Again, jury's out on this one because obviously a girl wants a guy who's loyal, but it just seems to turn girls off there. Caring, negative 21%. I would say caring and also some of these other words like loyal, kind, sweet, respectful. They're white noise language. It's white noise. It's words that don't really do anything. Like it doesn't really mean anything. They're just not very engaging and they're just kind of repetitive. And probably a lot of guys use those, words. It's like, it's just kind of like lame in one ear, out the other ear, just language. It's just really easy to read over. And it's like, okay, here's another guy saying that he's kind and respectful and sweet. And again, not that you shouldn't be those things, but to describe yourself in that way is just boring. Reading that is boring. It's like, no shit, you should be doing those things. Like a girl wants a guy like that. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to sit there and say, oh, this is who I am. It's like, well, hopefully you're that way. Like, you really need to say that. You need to say that you're loyal, caring, kind, and sweet. Like, hopefully all that stuff right there goes without saying. And there's something more to you than the obvious that should be just like bottom level default of a way that a guy should be with the girl. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And I think that's the main point I want to make here with these words. So, okay, let's keep going here. Let's go into the last one is spiritual, negative 15%. I would say just maybe a lot of girls, even though there are a lot of girls who are spiritual, maybe that just turns off a certain type of girl because maybe religion or something like that. Not really sure. But spiritual is also kind of a feminine language and a feminine characteristic. Not saying that a guy can't be spiritual, not saying that spirituality is just for women, not at all. It's for men and women. But I am saying that to describe yourself in that way is just, it sounds a little feminine and it can be a little bit of a turnoff. Now we move on to the next part, which is what are the 10 best ways to describe yourself in a dating profile according to this analysis? And this little article I'm reading here, this Business Insider article, says showing positivity and personality gives you a much better chance with the opposite sex online. And that's what they're finding here. That's kind of their like synopsis of what all these words kind of have in common for the opposite sex, for females and for you as a guy. And I agree with that. I like the way that they put that. Like if you look at all these words, which I'll tell you in a second, yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like positive and shows just more of an interesting character, right? That's kind of what I was saying before, is like the other words are just not interesting. They're just like, okay, yeah, lame. Like that's the stuff that you should already have as like the default, as the bottom level. But we still need some of these other things about you that are more interesting, unique, and show a personality. So coming in, actually, you know what? I'm gonna start from the bottom this time, just to keep you around, to keep you more engaged. So we'll start from the bottom here. Okay, thoughtful came in at plus 17%, right? Thoughtful, okay, that's a good one, yes. That one to me, of course, it's on the bottom because that also seems like a little white noise, like thoughtful. But I don't think a lot of guys are describing themselves as thoughtful. So it's not really white noise because I just don't think guys are saying that about themselves. So of course a girl wants a guy who is thoughtful, that is very important. But most guys just aren't using that language. And I don't think thoughtful is feminine either. I don't think that's like feminine as, as much as like sweet and kind and caring, you know what I mean? Like those are more feminine kind of characteristics. So yeah, thoughtful. Creative at 17%, so tied with thoughtful as we move up here. That's the second word from the bottom that if you put in your dating profile seems to work very well. Creative. It's interesting because creative is actually technically a feminine trait, but I think it's sexy to girls when a guy is creative. There's not many guys that are creative, that are, maybe painters or play an instrument or do something in the arts or do something creative with editing or anything like that. So that's a good one. Warm, 30%. That's an interesting one. Warm. The guy describing himself as warm. Okay. I got nothing there. I don't know how to analyze that one, to be honest with you. But here's the next one, 33%. I'm surprised this isn't towards the top. But funny. Girls love a guy who is funny. That is a trait that they fall in love with. Funny. That's what they want. So 33% funny. 37% optimistic. That's a good one. Of course, everyone wants to be someone who's optimistic. I think optimistic is not a word that guys usually describe themselves as. So I think a girl reading that might be like, oh, wow, okay. Well, that's good to know. He's optimistic, right? That's just a more interesting way of saying positive. Like, oh, I'm a positive-minded person. Like, yeah, okay. Optimistic is like a sexier term for the word positive. Then we have ambitious. That's plus 48%. Ambitious, well, that's a very masculine trait. So, of course, a woman wants a man who's ambitious. And I don't think that's default. I think a lot of guys aren't like that. So, a girl's like, oh, he's ambitious, because not every guy is ambitious. Of course, she wants a guy to be ambitious, but she might not be able to find one. So, there you go, ambitious. That's one to plus 48%. Tied at plus 48% is intelligent. That's also a great one. Of course, a woman wants an intelligent guy. It's sexy to be intelligent. So a good way to describe yourself is that. Next, at plus 56%, this does not surprise me at all because this is something I talk about all the time, is passionate. Passion is a hardcore masculine, sexy trait that a woman is attracted to. A guy who's passionate about something. He's got drive. He's fighting for something. He's doing something with his life. He's got passion and he's on a path and he's got purpose. Boom. That's huge right there. And then what are you passionate about? So you'll say that in your bio, right? And then maybe you'll use the word intelligent. I'm just going to go back one here. But use intelligent just to say that you find yourself fairly intelligent because you like to dive into different types of books or you like intelligent kind of movies. I would maybe describe the stuff that you like as intelligent instead of describing yourself as intelligent. It might sound a little bit egotistical, but that you like stuff that sparks your intelligence, right? Something like that. All right, let's keep going up. 58% physically fit. Okay, so let's talk about this one for a second. Physically fit. 58%, that's the second highest now. We've already gone through 9 of them, including physically fit, plus 58%. This is huge. Now, physically fit, here's the thing. You don't have to be physically fit, okay? You don't have to be physically fit. You can also say you're working towards becoming more physically fit, or your job keeps you physically fit, or that it is something that's important to you to be physically fit, or that you are physically fit because you literally are, right? Of course, if you're not, I wouldn't say that. But if you're generally pretty fit, just say that. Again, physically fit, it just means that you're not severely obese and you're not severely underweight. So you're physically fit. So you write that in your profile. You don't have to be this hardcore weightlifter kind of guy to be physically fit. I'm a guy who's borderline skinny, but I'm not obese. I would say I'm physically fit because I am. I'm physically fit. I'm physically capable, right? I'm sure you are too. Most guys are. So write that in your profile because you're telling the truth. Now, you might be thinking here, this is one thing. I just don't want to make you think like, okay, Trip, you always say like, looks don't matter. But all of a sudden, one of the highest ones is physically fit. Like, what's the deal with that? Like, I don't know. Jury's out on that one. Well, here's the deal. A girl obviously wants to be with a guy who's physically fit, just like you want to be with a woman who's physically fit. Okay. However, that doesn't mean that is a thing that is going to attract her. You got to remember, some of these things on here aren't even necessary. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to be necessarily be thoughtful or be a warm person. I mean, I guess warm is just saying nice. You don't even have to be super funny. Okay. But these are the things that a girl wants. These are the things that a girl wants. So you have to understand that is that she wants those things, but that doesn't mean that she's necessarily not going to be attracted to a guy who isn't funny or isn't super warm or isn't super creative or isn't super physically fit, right? It's the behavioral traits that actually attract a woman. I talk all about that, by the way, in my program called Hooked, which is the program all about how to meet and attract beautiful women. So you can get more information about that at getherhooked.com if you want to learn more about that. But just bear with me when I say real quick that it's the behavioral traits that a woman is attracted to, because that is how attraction worked thousands of years ago when we were first becoming humans. Okay, money did not exist back then, and male models who were actors, who every guy thinks they need to look like to attract beautiful women, it's not what was going on back then. So don't worry about those things. Don't worry about it. But really, it's more important to cultivate your personality and less worry about looks. But of course, a girl wants that, so say that in the profile, but you don't need to be that person in order to attract her when you're finally in person, okay? All right, let's move on. The next one at 143%, good Lord, this is more than any of these other ones. This is like far above everything, is perceptive. Perceptive. And this to me is like a better way of even saying intelligent, right? This is saying emotional intelligence. That's what I see this as. And girls want to be with a guy who's emotionally intelligent because, the stereotype of like a dumb guy, a guy who's like really good looking, but really dumb, or just see a guy who's just kind of like lazy couch potato, like lazy dad. Like there's a stereotype of that, and I don't think that's true because I think it is a stereotype, but I think that a woman wants to be with that guy who's like emotionally sensitive and in tune with his feelings and perceptive and knows how a woman is feeling, right? Of course, a woman imagines being in a relationship with a guy where he's so in tune with how she's feeling. And that is described by the word perceptive. So here's a good way of using it. I would say in your profile, people would describe me as pretty perceptive, as a perceptive individual. Say that people have described you as perceptive, that you're a guy who is perceptive and, is intuitive in most areas of life. Like something like that. Say that. And that would be huge. Okay. So I hope this helped. This has been an interesting podcast. I apologize again for the crazy noise in the background. I'll try to fix this for the next episode. Hopefully it wasn't too distracting for you. I really apologize. Oh, look, there's a kid screaming in the background here. But unfortunately, this is the only place I was able to record this today. Otherwise, I'd have to do it in a place that was extremely echoey, and you would not be able to listen to that for more than 10 seconds, I promise you. So thanks for listening in. Don't forget to use these in your profile. Hope it works for you. If it does, then go ahead and email me. Let me know. I want to hear from you. Did this work in your profile? Is this something that's helping you out? I would love to hear about it. So hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget, check out Hooked Online, which hopefully is available right now for you if you're listening to this when it's out. And if it's not out yet, stay tuned for your email. If you're on the list or you're a YouTube viewer, check it out. It'll be coming your way. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Later.